Dwayne Ashley is renowned for his bold strategic thinking and wise counsel in philanthropy. He's a successful entrepreneur. In the course of his career, he's raised more than $1 billion. He's committed to social justice and helping organizations of color maximize their fundraising success. He's also visited more than 100 countries. And according to sources close to Mr. Ashley, he makes a mean mac and cheese as well. We welcome Dwayne Ashley to the spotlight. Mr. Ashley, what a pleasure to see you.
Great to see you too, and hello to all your listening audience.
Absolutely. What a pleasure. Let's talk a little bit about, first of all, how you got started in this space, in this philanthropic consulting space. I understand the African American Museum of Natural History had a lot of motivation and a lot to do with why you started your firm.
It did. So a lot of people don't know this, but Mark, most organizations hire separate fundraising counsel aside from if they have a development staff in-house for their organization. It's a $1.7 trillion sector. And so when the Museum of African American History and Culture was being built, they issued an RFP to hire a firm that would run their campaign and serve as counsel. They tailored the RFP so they could have a firm that was diverse to respond to it. None did, because none existed that could manage a campaign of that size. So I thought, wow, what a shame that one of the most important institutions built in our community, and we didn't have a firm that could manage their fundraising campaign and service counsel to them. And so that became the motivator for me as I was wrapping up my career at Jazz at Lincoln Center to say, I need to create a firm. I want a firm that is bold enough and big enough that we can manage billion-dollar campaigns and we can serve as counsel and we can really disrupt the sector.
Wow, that is an amazing story. So let's go back a little bit, if you will. How do we help the Black community understand the value and the need for giving, by us, for us, if you will?
Yeah. Well, let me dispel a myth and an untruth. Black people do give. Okay. We've been giving for centuries. We give to our churches, we give to our community-based organizations. It has never been known as philanthropy. It's just been known in our community as the right thing to do. We take care of our community and we give back. We tithe, we do the things that we're taught to do because those are the values that were instilled in us. My great-grandmother, in the 1930s, donated land for the first colored school to be created in Ringo, Louisiana, because they didn't have a school. She was a great midwife, and at that time, people couldn't pay her, so they gave her land. So she amassed a lot of land. She didn't realize that was an act of philanthropy when she gave the land to create a school at that time was for colored kids. It now sits as one of the oldest Black churches in Louisiana. So we've always been giving, and we continue to give.
Yeah. How did you come to focus on social justice organizations? Is it a sign of the times? Because Lord knows the last 6 years have been trying times for people of color.
Yeah. So my background in philanthropy is rooted in social justice. I started my career at the United Way of the Texas Gulf Coast in Houston because I am a proud Houstonian. And I then went to work for the United Negro College Fund because I attended a historically Black college, a UNCF school not far from Dallas, Texas, the Great Wiley College, which is one of the oldest Black colleges in Texas. And so working at UNCF, it was such a wonderful culture. We knew we were a part of something bigger, that we were ushering through generations of generations of kids who never had a chance to go to college, but they're now today's middle class. They're the baby boomers who are leaving a lot of money that will go to keep our community strong and vibrant. And from there, I went to 100 Black men, and the story goes on. But my career has been rooted in social justice and fighting for our communities, fighting for those who are less fortunate and underprivileged so that they get access to opportunities. So when we created BPC, we said, well, there's a lot of firms to serve big organizations, but there are not a lot of firms that will come in and work with organizations who don't have capacity and help them build their capacity so that they can be competitive. And we know why this is the case, that our organizations are not at parity. It's because of, systematized racism and institutionalized racism, where these organizations have been blocked out of the system from being able to get access to dollars because people said, well, they don't have the capacity to manage it. Well, we're teaching them how to build their capacity so that they can be ready to receive those donations.
Yeah. Tell me a little bit about the elements that are needed by these organizations, like nonprofits. What elements do they have to have in place in order for you to come in and say, okay, you are ready for us to work with you?
Yeah. Well, there are two ways that we come in and work with you. We come in and work with you if you're not ready to help you get institutional ready.
Okay.
And that is, we want to make sure we help you build your board. We want to train your board. We want to create a culture of philanthropy so everybody understands that from the receptionist to to the maintenance people, you all are part of the fundraising team. If someone walks in that door, you need to greet them with a smile, make them feel welcome, make them feel great. And that's all a part of fundraising and creating a culture of philanthropy. So we train our clients how to do that. We also do a lot of training with the staff, how to steward donors, how to cultivate them. Because everybody thinks, oh, you hire a firm and like a magic wand you wave, somebody's going to give you $1 million or maybe 10 million. It doesn't work that way. You've got to cultivate relationships and build them over time, and people need to feel comfortable with you. Now, they will start off making a small investment, and that investment can grow over time to where a donor makes a larger investment. So we spend a lot of time training, helping them to build their marketing materials, helping them to get their case for support right, making sure that they're ready to go into the marketplace and fundraise and sustain themselves.
Absolutely. Tell me, you mentioned a very important word there, and that's culture. Helping them create a culture that's conducive to giving. Is that the biggest struggle when you start to work with some of these organizations?
The biggest struggle is the boards.
Okay.
Because often with our organizations, and when I say our, I'm speaking specifically about the African American and BIPOC communities. We have a lot of people that serve on our boards who bring a real passion and commitment to make a difference and to serve that mission. But they don't always understand fundraising, nor do they want to do it. So we have to train them in how you do fundraising. And that doesn't mean that you always have to be the person who's going to ask for a gift or solicit your friends. There are three elements to board fundraising. One is you can be an opener. You can introduce the organization to your friends or to people who may have the capacity to make gifts, your friends at banks, your friends at foundations. You can be a stewarder. That person that likes to entertain. They like to take people to lunch. They like to, build a relationship. And we need that. That's a part of the fundraising process. But then you need the person who's going to ask for the money. And that generally is going to be the smallest percentage of the board members because most people are uncomfortable asking for money. Believe it or not, Mark, it ranks in the top 10 fears that people have. Fear of flying, fear of heights. People are afraid to ask people for money.
Yeah, I believe it. I believe it. Well, tell me this, Dwayne, before we let you go, and we are so appreciative of you taking this time out for us as the only African-American philanthropic consulting firm in the country. But there seems to be a lot of responsibility with that in terms of the role model that you set and become for young kids from HBCUs, for example, and encouraging them to go into this business. As you mentioned, it's a $1.3 trillion sector.
It's a multi-trillion-dollar sector. Yes.
Wow, that's a lot of money. So are you able to work with, let's say, HBCUs? You're a Wiley College grad. I know you had an affiliation with Prairie View A&M, another amazing HBCU, to get young people to start opening their minds toward entrepreneurship. The game has changed from when you and I were growing up and we went and worked 25 years for somebody. They gave us the gold watch. That's not realistic anymore. Entrepreneurship is hot and it's sexy right now.
Yeah. Well, part of our goal is, and we are the largest and only African-American owned full service firm. And I want to clarify that because there are a lot of individual consultants out there. They do the work, but they can't manage big campaigns. And they, by virtue of their own interests, do not want to build a big firm. It's a lot of work. Right. And capital is one of the main barriers to building a firm like this. And we try to open the doorway by training our people that, they can go out and start their own firms. We don't want to be the only one. The market is so big that we would never be able to service all of the market. So we need to create more BIPOC firms in the sector that are big, not just 1 and 2 person operations. They need to have an aspiration to run multi-hundred million and billion-dollar campaigns. And that's where we find the challenge. People don't want to do it. They don't want the responsibility, and the access to capital becomes another big issue. It's a service industry. Most investors don't want to invest in service-based firms. So you've got to really have, friends and families that help you build it. You've got to, diversify your revenue. 50% of our work is in consulting. We also do government work, and we also develop products.
Wow, that is absolutely amazing. Well, Dwayne, before I let you go, I got to get back to this mac and cheese. Tell me a little bit about it. I mean, what's the secret spice in there? Because I understand it has a little kick to it.
Well, my mom is from Louisiana, so I gotta have some Cajun Louisiana cooking in there. It's 3 cheeses, and you definitely got to make sure you got the right spices in it.
I love it.
Seasoning is the key to good mac and cheese.
Wow. Okay, I never thought of that. I might have to sprinkle some of that on next time. Wow. Thanks so much for sharing. I certainly appreciate you sharing the family secrets.
Thank you for all you do, Mark. We really appreciate your leadership and the work you do to really keep our communities informed.
Absolutely. And tell folks how they can find out more information about you and your firm.
Well, you can visit us at www.bridgephilanthropicconsulting.com.
All right. Well, congratulations to you and continued success. Keep doing what you're doing. Your work is sorely needed in our community, and you are impacting so many lives with the work that you all do there. So hats off to you.
Thank you.
And continued success, my friend. What a pleasure to have met you and to have this opportunity to speak with you.
It's our honor to serve our communities. Thank you.
Thank you, Dwayne.